Okay, I've been looking at my sets of rule videos for this series, and I didn't realise I never really completed them. So I've started doing a few little ones for rules that are quite new to the game, but I'm gonna cover all the missing bits as I'm going along. So the first thing we're going to have a look at is demoralisation, recovery, and reorganisation. The reason I'm doing this one is something which is actually quite relevant to the Leipzig game in the position it is at the moment. So, first thing to remember is that you've got these casualty record tracks. Now, each one of these markers here is for certain types of division. That's Constantine's Russian Corps, which is these guys red over here. So you see it's brown for Russians and red. So you can work out what markers which. Now remember, they've only started including these markers in the later games. Before that, what you had to do is when a unit is first knocked out for a division, you had to use that as a marker, which was a bit naff to say the least. Now, if you look down these tracks, here you're looking at the various battles that make up Leipzig campaign. Now we're doing, forgive my awful pronunciation, Rakow and Mokken, which is W&M track. So if you see here, like the first light Austrian Corps, which is a very small unit over here near Leipzig, every time you lose a strength point, your marker moves down this tracker. Right now, if you reach the point on the tracker where the unit's identification is marked, i.e. 5 strength points, at that point the Austrian Light Division will become demoralized. Okay, now these tracks can go backwards. Certain units that have been lost can be recovered, and when they come back at their reduced strength points. So if a reduced strength point unit of 2 came back for Whittington's Corps, this track would move back to 19, reflecting that those steps are now back on the board. Now, while you're going through the game, units are going to start getting destroyed. Now, there's 2 statuses here. There's permanently eliminated. Now, permanently eliminated units are ones where there isn't a reduced step. They can't be brought back in a reduced strength, because that's only got 1 step, for example. So when that was eliminated, it's taken out of the game. Now, other permanent eliminations, if you are totally surrounded or unable to retreat due to terrain or the presence of enemy units, you will be permanently eliminated. And a permanently eliminated unit can never be brought back. Okay? Now, other units where it was possible to retreat after being surrounded or forced to retreat, or exchanged or whatever, go into this reduced units. All right. Now, every time the weather is checked, there's something called a reorganization step that takes place. So if we look over here, we've got recovery steps and reorganization steps. Right. Now, when you do a recovery, during that recovery step, you will throw for initiative on these units. Now, you've got to get equal to or less than the initiative value. If you do that, the unit is then flipped over to its reduced side, and then it becomes available for recovery. Okay? Another thing to remember, that if a unit that's already on its reduced side is eliminated, but it did have an option to retreat, it can't be brought back because it's already at a reduced strength. So that would go into the permanently eliminated box as well. Another way of getting in the permanently eliminated box, if a formation becomes demoralized during the recovery phase, while it's in that demoralized state, you have to roll for each combat unit in the formation, and if you throw a roll a 5 or a 6, the unit becomes permanently eliminated. That's assuming basically the troops have had enough. The unit's completely wrecked and they're not going to fight anymore. Okay? Now, a formation can rally from demoralisation if returning units were to actually take the marker to below. So if we look at Whittington's score, if we had enough recovering units to put the marker back below 13, that formation would no longer be demoralised. Now, demoralisation also has an effect on the actual combat performance of a unit. Its initiative, one is subtracted from all initiative ratings of officers in combat units any time that their initiative rating is referenced, with the exception being the recovery step, which I'm going into in a minute. During combat, demoralised units may not advance after combat. Demoralised cavalry may not charge. A demoralised unit in a chateau does not receive the benefits of being in a chateau. Okay. Demoralised units may retreat 1 hex on receiving a 1R result in a bombardment. Alright. Okay, so what we've done, so we're going into our recovery segment. We'll have rolled for all these. So, for example, all these units here, in this particular term for Leipzig, they passed their awaiting recovery initiative test and now available to be recovered. Now, during the recovery phase, each leader of a formation can recover up to 2 units. So if we were on the coalition turn, for Whittington's unit, I could actually recover 2 of these here. I'd obviously recover the best ones, or I could, and they are placed in the hex with the leader. Now, if there's any stacking violations as a result of that, existing units are displaced to make way for the recovering units. Now, if we look at the state of the Polish unit here, the Polish unit, the leader's been eliminated due to the fact it was captured from being in a hex in an enemy zone of control. Now, they can't actually recover any units, even though they've got 3 units in the awaiting recovery box, because they haven't got a leader on the map. You have to wait for a replacement leader to come in. While we're discussing replacement leaders, just remember you use the existing leader counter, but its initiative is dropped by 1. What I do is I mark them with these dots, so I know that Kleist is actually dead and that's his replacement, and he has an initiative of 3, not 4. Right, there are some restrictions on reorganisation. Leaders in an enemy zone of control may not be used for reorganisation. Officers can only reorganise units of their formation. Well, that makes sense. A commander may reorganise units of any friendly formation whose officer is within the commander's command radius. Well, that's interesting. Right, an officer does not have to be in command in order to reorganise. Each officer that attempts a reorganisation is marked with an out of command marker until the friendly command segment of the next game turn. Vedette is eliminated. If a vedette is eliminated in combat, place the unrecovered section in the awaiting recovery box. Yeah, that's nothing there epic there. Right, that was a bit sort of roundabout, going around all the houses to get to our destination, but I think we've pretty much covered reorganisation, recovery and demoralisation.